Hi, it's Martin Gibbons again, and welcome to the final webinar in this series, which is 3 career mistakes that I won't make twice. And my hope is that you can take this experience where I've made a mess of it in the past and hopefully learn from my mistakes and not repeat them in your own career in the future. So let's move on to mistake number 3. We've had mistakes number 2 already, 1 and 2 already, so let's see what we've got to say about number 3. Now here's the thing. And I say this with absolutely and utterly no modesty whatsoever. Modesty is not, unfortunately, something that I suffer from. But so I have to tell you that when it comes down to it, I'm pretty talented. This is what I've realised after all these years. Modesty aside, I'm pretty talented. What I didn't realise was that this was also a bit of a curse. Now the chances are that you're also pretty talented, and if you're watching this video and you're engaging with me, then chances are that you are talented, you are ambitious, you are wanting to move forward in your life, and maybe I can help you do that. However, the chances are that you also share a similar and are suffering from this same curse of being a bit talented. Which also means that the chances are that you're making the same mistake that I was all those years ago. Now, I started working at People Maps back in around about 2001. Probably actually it was 2000 because it was a fair amount before it actually, a lot of stuff happened before we finally launched, but let's say roughly speaking about 2001. And I always had an interest in psychology, and I read my first personality report probably 20 odd years ago. So this interest, not just in psychology, but in personality psychology, has been with me for quite a long time, and it's one of the reasons that People Maps was actually founded. And I'd like to think that the work that we're doing over at People Maps is pretty groundbreaking. It's quite pioneering, to be honest, and I'm very proud of what we do there. Anyway, that's an aside. But the more I study personality within the workplace, and this is the area that I'm increasingly spending my time in. I spend a lot of time looking at personality, personal psychology, and within a working environment and all the implications and ramifications from that. That's an area of my sort of research and study and what we do here at People Maps. But so the more I work on this, the more I realise that something very, very simple. And it's simply this here. And it took me a long time to come up with this. But I think this kind of succinctly illustrates what I discovered and what I've come to believe very, very strongly. And it's this: it's not possible to enjoy sustainable success unless our work environment and our core personality are actually in harmony. Now, you maybe need to read that a couple of times because it's a little long, but it's absolutely critical. Success, in whatever way you define success, I don't hold a narrow definition of success. So for some it's money, for others it's other things. It doesn't matter how you define success. But if it's to be sustainable, then you simply must be working in harmony. Your environment must be in harmony with your core personality. Now, over the last few years, probably over the last 20 years, but certainly in the last dozen years, I've studied people who are successful in various ways that you describe that word. I've looked at that pretty closely. I've looked at what they do. I've listened to their talks. I've got to know some of them. Got close and personal to many of them. I've also got to know a few millionaires, people who are extremely successful entrepreneurs, started businesses, and kind of got to know them and made friends of some of them. And always at one part of me is looking at this. What did it do? How it come? What was the model? What's the psychology going on here? Is there a pattern? Once you start in this role, you never really switch off. So this was always going on. And I was very aware also of people who were at the top of their profession, who apparently were successful because they had money, they had reached their successful aims, and anybody from the outside would look at them and go, well, they're pretty successful, they've done really well. And what I also realised is that many of these people were also very unhappy. So it got pretty interesting, and it still is absolutely fascinating, and I continue to study this area. I think most interesting of all is I've also got to know a few people who lived pretty modest lives. You know, they don't have flashy cars or big houses. They live modestly, and yet they feel happy and successful. So this kind of really made me think, and it definitely was the stuff that floated about in the research that I've been doing the last few years. So what was mistake number 3? Well, the mistake, therefore, when I take all of this and I look at it, the mistake number 3, mistake that I was making, was quite simply this: I didn't follow my passion or work to my natural strengths. Now, to explain this, I'm not really going to get into the passion side of it, right? Because I think you can understand that, and also that can be a little distracting. Although I do believe this, and I do think unless you're following your passion, it's hard to really make all this work and bring it all together. However, to define passion is a little tricky, so I'm not going to go there, but I'm going to go to the more obvious, simple area and just look at one half of this, which is working to my natural strengths, because that's something at least I should have been able to do. Even if I hadn't found a passion, I should have been aware of my natural strengths and I should have been working to them. And the mistake that I really made was that because I was talented, I threw myself into a career path that in no way worked to any of my natural strengths. Now, to explain this, I'm going to use a picture, and I need to take you to the mountain. So here's the mountain, and this simple analogy kind of makes the point here. If you're not working to your natural strengths, as I wasn't when I embarked on my first careers, and I'll say that careers possibly plural, then what happens is that you arrive at the bottom of the mountain. Now, most people just presume that that's where everybody arrives and that's fine, and you start at the bottom of the mountain and you work your way up. What I've discovered over the years is that that's actually not true. That's not what happens. However, when you do arrive at the bottom of the mountain and you're not working the effort in your natural strengths, then you have to really climb and work and climb and work and try and struggle. And if you're really, really good and you really persevere and you work really hard and you get a lot of luck, you get halfway up the mountain. Now, compare that with when you work to your natural strengths. What happens when you work to your natural strengths is you get parachuted in halfway up the mountain. You come straight in somewhere halfway up, maybe even nearer the top of the mountain. So your starting point is where most people are struggling to even finish. And when you land way up the mountain, then from there to the top is actually when you're working to your natural strengths, becomes pretty easy, pretty quick, great fun, it's uncrowded, it's a lot quieter, and you can see for miles. And this is the difference, and the simple difference is, do you want to start at the bottom of the mountain, or do you want parachuted in? And the mistake I made was I decided to go to the bottom of the mountain and try and slog my way up, when in actual fact the right thing to do, and what I would do this time, would be parachute straight into the halfway up the mountain, as high up as that mountain as I can go. And the more natural strengths, the more I'm working in harmony with myself, and instead of wrestling and fighting against myself, the further up that mountain I'm actually going to begin. And when I get near the top of that mountain, and you start from a very elevated position, it really is much plainer sailing. It's a lot easier to go than to go from way down here. So the mountain kind of helps us explain this. Because I was talented, and as I say, chances are you're also talented. Because I was talented, what I managed to do with all that talent was batter a square peg into a round hole. That's what my talent achieved. Chances are you've also done the same. The chances are you've made this mistake and you've used all your talent to do nothing much more than really batter a square peg into a round hole. I thought that that was an achievement. I actually thought that that was progress. For years and years, I thought that was progress, because I was aware quite early on that there were square pegs and round holes going on here in the decisions that I had made. And therefore, I had some sort of perverse pride in the fact that I could batter square pegs into round holes. What I hadn't actually questioned, and you might not have either, is that the right thing to do? Should I be trying to batter square pegs into round holes? Is that a talent I want to be good at? Well, the answer, of course, is no. And that's why it wasn't. It was mistake number 3. Now, it took me 20 years to rectify that mistake and to start to work more and more with my natural strengths. And it's something I keep working on every day. And it's what I would urge for you. It's what I would love to see you enjoy, is doing something, hit the mountain and arrive and work to your natural strengths. But you know what? You don't need to wait another 20 years. You don't need to take all that length of time. I didn't need to either. Step 1 of the 3-step system, well, this is all about discovering what you were simply born to do. What are those natural talents? What is it when you hit the ground? You just hit the ground running, and it's just easy peasy, plain sailing, freewheeling down big hills, that kind of, instead of having to pedal and top gear up big, tough, rubbish hills. That's what we want for you. Now, I promised I would share with you your personality report now, which is very much related to this. So what we're going to do now is go over and I'm going to pull it up, and let's see if I can actually give you some very personal insight, looking at your own personality report as to what you possibly should be doing with your life. Maybe it'll give you some ideas as to the direction that you should be looking at. And I'm going to go and pull that up right now. Let's have a look at your own personality report. So I've pulled out an extract from one of your personality reports. And of course, within the 3-step system, there are several personality reports all about you that you can use to help you advance and accelerate your career. So what this one's telling me right away, what's jumping out, is that you need to work in an environment where you are busy. Now, why is this so important? You see, it's important to you with your personality, but actually this is not important to everyone. Well, unlike most people, you really thrive when you're under pressure. You just love to be busy. You like having too much to do. You not only need to be busy, you actually need to be really busy. In terms of how your scale of busy is rather different from that of other people. You kind of need, 2 phones in your hand and the 3 people all asking you questions. That's how kind of busy you prefer to be. Now, obviously you want to be busy doing the right things and things that you care about, not just being busy doing stuff you hate. So we'll take that as read, but this is coded into your core personality. If you aren't enjoying your existing work, then it could be because the environment that you're in is simply not keeping you busy enough. It's not enough busy, and it's not the right kind of busy. Now, there's actually not that many people, very few would actually understand that you like to be busy, and there's an awful risk, in fact there's every chance that you have a boss who might be trying to do the best thing by you and thinking they're doing the right thing by not having you too busy, when in actual fact you can't be busy enough. Now, I can only imagine how boring your work life would be if you had all the time in the world to get through your tasks each week. If you just didn't have that sense of urgency running through your routine, it's going to get pretty boring. It's going to get really quite frustrating. And another kiss of death for you would actually be isolation. So if you happen to find yourself spending a lot of time on your own, then you're probably looking at a potential problem. And although the people that you interact with may drive you crazy from time to time, you still get your kicks from the interaction with people and interacting with people in a big way, because that's one of your core personality needs and traits. It's one of your great strengths as well. Now, as I say, this is really just a tiny extract from one personality report to illustrate how difficult it would be for you to enjoy your ideal job, enjoy your work under these kind of conditions. And obviously, we want you to see in your dream job, and therefore this is an idea of the kind of criteria that you're going to have to start being aware of, making lists of. These are the conditions that need to be met for you to be in your ideal, your dream job. In this webinar series, I've shared just 3 career mistakes that I wouldn't make twice. In the 3-step system, I'll show you step by step how to discover what your dream job looks like, and also show you dozens and dozens of videos and personality reports, all in step 1, that will reveal what may otherwise take 20 years. As I said earlier on, shouldn't need to take 20 years. Step 1 is there so that you don't need to repeat mistake number 3. Now, not only that, but in step 2, I will also show you how to get interviews for jobs you actually want. Now, this is the alternative to battering off CVs to job adverts and to strangers. This is how you avoid repeating and making mistake number 1 that we talked about in the very first webinar. Again, there are dozens of videos packed full of interesting ways to get up close and personal with the people who matter, the people who are making the decisions. And that's all covered in step 2 of the 3-step system. And then finally, of course, in step 3, and most naturally, you will discover the master skill. And what's the master skill? Well, it's quite simply how to convert every interview into a job offer. Now, regardless of whether you suffer from nerves or not, step 3 will show you how you take control of the interview and deliver an interview that actually gets you job offers time and again. Now, further down the page, you can probably read somewhere below here, you can probably read some of the reviews about the 3-step system. This is actually the 5th edition, and it's the largest rewrite that we've ever done since we launched it several years ago. 3-step system itself is tried and tested, and now I would like to think that it's much further improved. Now, it was pretty good to start with, but I think you'll agree that this is a seriously improved version. Now, there have been some recent changes in recruitment itself. In the last sort of 3 years or so, there's been quite a significant change in how employers and recruiters are going about recruiting, and you really kind of need to know about this. And that was one of the reasons that kind of forced my hand to actually rewrite the 5th edition and come up with the 5th edition. So I did take 2 or 3 months off and spent an awful lot of time writing, finishing off the research, re-researching it, topping it up, getting a lot of feedback from yourself and other people. Many people contributed to things, you know, making sure that all the questions that were being asked, I did go out to my people and say, what are you really concerned about? And of course, all the experience that I have working with employers and stuff. So based on all of that, took a lot of time off. I did the rewrite, re-recorded it, and it's all brand new. Now, if I leave you with nothing else, let me leave you with 2 really, really important points. And as I say, I'll be absolutely delighted if you send me an email saying, hey, I just used some of your free stuff, some of your free ideas, and I've used it to go and land myself a better job. Email me that email, I'll be delighted. However, there's 2 things I really want to leave you with today. And the first point is that it takes the same effort to land a crappy job you hate as it takes to actually land your dream job. And if I can convince you of nothing else, let me convince you of that, because I see so many people putting a lot of time and effort into landing and then keeping crappy jobs that they really hate, and the same time and effort could actually be applied slightly differently to land them jobs that they really, really love to do. So please bear that in mind, it's so important. You don't need to settle for those crappy jobs. The second point that I really want to leave you with, and this might be, having looked at all the up to 1,800 comments that have been left on Career Psychometrics Buzz page, the second point I want to leave you with is that what's actually holding back your career is not your lack of ability, but it's the recruitment process itself. I might need to repeat that. It's not your ability, your lack of ability, but it's actually the recruitment process. And therefore, what I can show you in the 3-step system is how to get around that, how the recruitment process actually works, and how you can make it dance to your tune, how you can get this new knowledge to make it work for you, not against you. So the big question you're bound to have right now is, okay, so how much is it? And that's a pretty good question. Let me tell you that when I actually release this to the public, very soon it will be opened up more to the public. This now we tend to be operating on a sort of invite only scenario. I will be charging £197 plus £27 per month. And to be honest, even at £197, this is still extremely competitive when you compare it with the £1,000, the £1,500 and the £3,000 that some of my competitors are charging for what I believe is a little outdated career coaching. That's a bit career coaching the old-fashioned way, if you like. So I still think £197 is extremely great value for what we're going to do here. But this is a membership site, and the reason for that is that I'm actually also going to include some personal support via the question and answer facility. We've actually built into the platform, the membership platform, that you'll be using a question and answer session that goes with each video, each module. So if you watch a module and you really don't get it or something doesn't make sense, you can actually ask me the question and I'll get back to you using this Q&A facility. I don't think anyone offers this type of support. So this is way beyond, I mean, the videos themselves and the training is more than enough. However, this actually brings it right into your living room and makes it really personal. Now, for the first few people who book their spot, and this is the bit you really need to pay attention to here, for the first few people who book their spot and grab a place on this membership program, I'm actually going to waive the initial £197 fee completely. Just, it's going. So for a mere £27 a month, you will get the entire 3-step system with me personally supporting it. Now, all I ask is that you do provide me with some feedback. I'm only giving this out to the first few people that grab it, but I would ask you that you would give me feedback so that we can continue to improve this product and make sure that it's relevant and dealing with all the issues. I believe it is, but I'm pretty sure you'll soon tell me what else you would like to see there. Now, 27 quid, what the hell's that? Nothing. You probably spend that on coffee a month. I know that I spend that and more on coffee a month. But I can also tell you that there's not a single cup of that coffee that I buy that's likely to see me with a pay rise, a new job, a better boss, or the feeling that I would love to go to work on a Monday morning instead of that big knot and dread that you have on a Sunday night. The fastest, surest way of putting more money in your pocket is to improve your career. Let me show you how to accelerate your career. Just give me that chance, give me a chance to do that, and I'll show you with the 3-step system how you can accelerate your career. Let me show you how you can actually conquer ageism. If you're over 40, then this is a very real thing for you. Let me show you how you can overcome that. And let me show you how you can make a career change and get interviews. We haven't even talked about career change, but traditional job hunting approach simply doesn't work if you're trying to change careers. But let me show you a way that can actually work if you want to change careers. And let me show you how you can actually get job offers time and again once you get into an interview. Now, it's been an absolute pleasure doing this. That's us finished for today. It's been an absolute pleasure, this free webinar series for you. I'm hoping that you've found something of value in here that you can take away. And I'll be delighted if all you do is use my free stuff and go and enjoy it and accelerate your career as a result. I'm hoping that you'll come and join me on the inside, become a member, and we can work together, and you can really let me show you what you could be doing with your career and how to take it from here away up to here. So if you like anything that you've seen, please grab one of the discounted spots before they're gone. Save yourself nearly 200 quid by grabbing one of these discounted spots before they go, because I'm obviously only going to give a few of them away, and all you can do now is go hit the big button below, go and have a look at it, you'll see the big button below, hit that button, book your place, and I'll see you on the other side. I'm Mark Gibbons, thanks very much for watching, it's been an absolute pleasure.